welcome. We are playing the very first scenario of the first scenario of the first campaign in Beyond the Rift. So this is not the tutorial, but the actual first sort of main campaign. It's called An Old Friend. I'm not going to read the whole flavor text and everything, but basically where we find ourselves is in the eastern parts of the Gory Empire, where there's a mountain pass which gets attacked by orcs on a regular basis, but we find ourselves in a situation where the orcs are more aggressive than usual in a way that is very disturbing. And at the same time, there's been a long cutback of the military forces in the east, and since one of the group, one of the main heroes, Bastian, is an old gory army general, he found himself being called upon by an old friend, and we are now here to see if we can help him out. So we arrive, and there is this village that is being attacked by orcs. So our goal is to survive X amount of turns. We have to survive until the end of the 6th turn, and that is when the threat is here on 6. There is sort of one last strike, and then we have won. We will lose if we die, and we're only playing with Niffle. So, do you know the mechanics of the game? Should I explain a little bit, or just get going and start playing? OSCS. OSC. Oh, one-stop co-op shop. Of course. Never saw that. Shortly, bro. Okay, good. Then you're up to speed. He also played the scenario, but with 2 other heroes. So this is a Bastian scenario, which makes Niffle a little bit more of a challenge because he's sort of not the main character to be soloed here. But let's see how it goes. I put this on normal difficulty now. Every player count has 3 difficulties: easy, normal, and hard. I don't think I would manage hard with Niffle, but let's see if we can squeeze out a win with normal here. So I draw up to my starting hand. I'm playing 1 solo player, means I have 7 cards. As you might know, there are different amounts of cards depending on the player count. So in the one-stop co-op shop one, there would have been 6 cards per hero, but I get 7 now since I'm alone. So up here is my quest area. This is where the heroes start. I will use this here as my hero area, so when I engage them, I move them here. Might not have to engage that many, since I have quite a bit of range attacks here with Niffle. Well, if I drew any, we'll see. And yeah, let's get starting with the first round. So we are now in the very first hero phase, where I can do my actions. So let's see here what I have in hand. I have an attack card, one of the good ones that draw me a card afterwards. I have some defense and action points, which is nice. Just a little bit of utility. I have one of these attachments which I can add to one of the enemies to weaken their stats, but it has range 1, so I would have to pull them in. But these 2 make for a nice combo, because I can attach this to weaken their defense and then attack them, and then I have a pretty good chance of hitting. One moment, I just realized I did not put the response deck here. Let's put it right here. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, so that is a nice start. I have some defense. I can get some action points. I have this card that deals double damage, which is nice if I draw more attack cards, because it also has -2 attacks. I can't really hit anything with a combined attack of 2. Well, I could, theoretically, but I have to get a little bit lucky. So I think what I will do is I will start by playing, I'll show you the card. I'll start by playing this. It has cost 2 action points, and I draw 2 response cards, and I get that amount of action points. So this is 3. I do have the ability of Niffle that I can use once a turn. Oh yeah, I should have paid for that, playing that card. That I could use now. An average would be 4. 3 is not great. So I will use his once per turn hero ability to draw 2 other cards, and now I drew 3 and 2, so I get 5, so I go to 11. That is a lot better. So let's see here. What am I looking at? I would like to attack. I would like to add this. I guess it would be nice to have the action points also for the extra damage. So if I would like to pay for all of those, I would need 5 points left. And I would have to engage an enemy, which I'm guessing will be the skirmisher. So I would need 8 altogether. So I think with that in mind, I will play the Thieves' Tools. It has 2 actions. I will use the top one. The bottom one is just getting rid of fatigue and wound cards, which can be very useful, but I just started, so I don't have any. But I can play this card and pay X, and X times 2 is the amount of cards that I look at that I can look at from my deck. So I will have X be 2. I can look at the top 4 cards of my deck. I will put one of these straight into my hand, and another one, and all the others I can put on the top or at the bottom. So now I have some choices here. I could actually take it easy this round, just draw into a bunch of defense cards and just do a little bit of a defensive play here, because I don't know if I want to dig deeper for more attack cards at this point. So I think what I will do, I sort of want all of these, honestly. I think I will take the action points, and I will put these back on top, all 3 of them on top, in this order. So now I have to see. What's your trivial win ratio for normal? Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not paying a very good attention to the chat here. So my win rate for normal is around 60%, I would say. I mean, it has been now that we did some adjustments. There used to be just 1 difficulty for each of the different player counts, but we got a lot of feedback on that, and we adjusted that. So right now, I would say something around 60%. It used to be lower than that because there was just the 1 difficulty. But now, since there's a hard difficulty, I pretty much decided that to aim for someone who has a lot of experience, understanding of the game should probably have something in the 50-60% range for normal, and then easy. You should have a lot higher than that, but at that point you're probably so experienced you don't want to play on easy, and hard will most likely be below 50, I think. I like a draw with few attacks for a berserker. No, so Nifl is actually not a berserker. I think you're getting confused with the Tyra. She is a berserker. She has a much more she has a much more aggressively slanted deck. We'll probably try to show that off at some point, but she has a lot of attack cards. Nifl is he's a disgraced noble, and he is what I guess in the normal D&D terms you would call a rogue, but he's sort of a thief, that style of character. So he's a lot about manipulation and speed and such things. Okay, so I'll keep playing here. So I'll pay another 2 to pay this. And I draw another 2 cards. That gives me 2 action points. Okay, so that card did nothing for me here, unfortunately. I think I'm still pretty good, though. So let's get this skirmisher into my area. I pay the action point cost, go down to 6. I will pay another 2 to attach this card to the orc. And let's see here. So I have 2 defense cards. I think my chances are pretty good there to defend. I have this attack, and the attack also draws me a card. So I will play this attack. I pay the primary cost of 1, and I'll do an attack of 4 against this orc skirmisher, who now has a combined defense value of 0. So he always gets the card. So this card, if it's 4 or higher, I miss. If it's 3 or lower, I hit. And it's a 2. All right, perfect. So it would now have a... Oh, I misread, sorry. This orc now has a combined defense value of 1, 2, 3. Because its base value is 3. It has -2 from the attachment, +2 from the card. 4 is still higher than 3, so I did hit, meaning I draw a wound card, and I attach the wound card to the enemy as well, and the bonus on my attack card is to draw a card. So now I got this Perceptive Edge, which is very good. So let's see, I have 3 action points still. I'll pay 1 for the Perceptive Edge, and should I put it on the Archer or the Huntmaster? My goal here is to reduce the attack value. The Huntmaster is a little bit more of a supporter, and it's less likely to attack, but it does have a much more powerful attack. I think I will go for the Archer. Let's see, that might actually come back to bite me. All right, I know I have a defense card on top, and I know I don't want this extra damage, so I will now use this ability to pay 1 action point, discard 1 or 2 cards. I will choose to discard 1, and now I draw as many cards as I just discarded. So I can end my turn here with 3 defense cards. That feels real good, I would say. And of course, I got a wound in, I got 2 attachments out to sort of help me in my defense, because the enemy's attacks are going to be a lot weaker here. So I will then move the game onwards into the enemy phase. So in the enemy phase, I draw a response card. And I'm scrolling here in my G-Doc. Here we go. Okay, and I will simply read from a chart here what the enemies do. So I drew a 1. I can mark that here, that the card drawn was a 1. And then we check. So first thing that happens is that the Orc Skirmisher has re-engaged an attack. So it would now engage a hero, and it would actually sort of re-engage, meaning that it, even if it's engaged already, it might actually go to another hero. Now, that doesn't do anything since I'm playing 1 hero, so, and it's already engaged with me, so it simply stays put. And then it will attack. All right, so it has an attack value of 0, because the base value is 3, then -2, -3, so it just ends up being 0. It can't go below that. So I will play 1 of these defense cards for 5. So 0 plus the card has to beat 5. The enemy cannot hit, because the highest card I could draw is a 5. And the defender always wins ties. Okay, so then we move on. We have the Huntmaster, and now comes one of these supportive abilities I was talking about. The Orc Huntmaster will support skirmishers, and all skirmishers disengage. This means support is that it moves into the area with the most skirmishers. This is this area because there's 1. And now it allows the skirmisher to do another action, which is to disengage. So the skirmisher will now move away. So he sort of moved up to the front and brought home the skirmishers. Then we have the Archer, who would disengage as their first action, but they're unable to because it's already in the quest area, and then it is already disengaged. And so as an alternate action, it will attack. So since it's still standing here, it will attack. I could, during my turn, actually have pulled it into my hero area to avoid this, to sort of have it disengage instead. I believe the Mike at the One Stop Co-op shop figured this part out very well. My issue here is just that there's no cost reduction on this Archer, and I didn't have 2 action points. So I'll defend. I'll keep this good defense cards, because I believe I will need that in the coming turns. So I will play a 4 defense card, and that's against an attack of 0 plus 2. So I am fine. Okay. Pretty decent start, I think. Let's see here in the chat. Are the enemy actions dependent on the scenario or overall, and change only per player count? No, so they are unique for every scenario. So every single scenario has its own flowchart. Or not a flow chart. It has a chart of columns. There's the first column, which is -1 to 0, meaning the response card is -1 or 0. Then there's a +1, a +2, a +3, and a +4 or 5. These actions do not change according to player counts, but they sometimes change in the middle of the scenario depending on events. So there is minor spoilers here, but in like the second campaign, there is a sort of a battle scene where you're trying to fight your way into a fort. And the way you do that is first you have to pull all the levers to open up a portcullis. And once you're sort of inside of this fort, the enemies will behave differently, because in the first part of the scenario, they're trying to protect the fort. So they're trying to sort of like pull back these levers that you're pulling. Oh yeah, thank you. So they're trying to pull back these levers to sort of like hold you off to not get in. But once you are inside, they're not going to care about the levers anymore, because those obviously, you know, they can't hold you off from coming in anymore. So then they become more aggressive. So this is how these enemy behaviors work. But yeah, as I said, it's every single scenario has unique behaviors because every single scenario objective is unique. So that is simply necessary in this case. Okay, so now we move on. So that was the enemy phase. All enemies have acted. You can, of course, like put them on the side a little bit, like exhaust them if you want. But since I only have 3 enemies, I don't find that that's necessary here. Now we go to the spawn phase. And here I look at the threat value, and I look at the chart for each player count. So each player count has its own pace at which enemies come out. For obvious reasons, if you're more players, you usually have more resources and are more powerful. In this case, we add 1 card from the enemy deck, which is here, to the quest area. So the village is continuously being attacked, and now there's another archer that is engaged with us. And move on to the draw phase. Now I will first set my action points to where they start, which is 8, because that's my starting value. But I'm also holding on to 1 card, so I go up to 9. Now, because I'm playing solo, I draw 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I add those 7 to my hand of 1. So now I have 8 cards. I will have to discard down to my hand size of 7. So I will lose 1 of the cards. So I have to decide here. So I think I'll go through these in detail, but I have a card here that says you may ignore negative terrain effects, and I can put all fatigue cards from my hand back into the fatigue card deck. This does nothing for me right now. I have no fatigue cards, and this scenario doesn't have terrain effects. So that would have been one that I would probably have cycled away anyhow. All right, so I have a little bit of extra action points for that. Now we move on to the end phase. And in the end phase, we increase the threat by 1. And then if the threat would have been high enough, that is to say, in this case, it would have needed to be 7, then we would have won. But now it is 2, so we keep playing. Okay. No further questions, chat, then we keep going here. So what is my plan here? I have quite a lot of defense. I have some attack here. I can look at top cards. I can draw cards. I have more of these attachments that weaken the enemies, but not a lot of attacks here. So I will spend 2. I will play this card, which just lets me draw 2 cards. Okay, I will do something similar here. I will spend 2. I will get 1 response card's worth of action points, which is a 1, and I will draw a card from my deck. Okay, more card drawing. I wonder if I don't want to do some attacking here. Let's see. Could of course try to just do something like get rid of the skirmisher, because I can actually engage the skirmisher for free. I could also look at the top card of any deck. You know what? Let's do that. Let's pay 2, and this allows me to look at the top card of any deck, any card deck. So I could look at the top of my deck, of the enemy deck, or anything. I think in this particular case, I would like to know what's on top of the response deck. Okay, so there's a 0 there. That is very good to know, because that could be the card that the enemies draw for their defense, which is interesting. So this archer here is a defense of 1. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pay 2 action points here, and I'm going to attack that archer. Now we know he's going to draw a 0 here as a defense. That means I know for a fact that I'm going to hit. There we go. Hitting means I deal 1 damage. That can be seen here. And also as a bonus for this attack card, I draw a card. Okay, I can play this anytime an enemy will engage me. That enemy does not move instead. That's very good against the skirmisher. So I think, I don't know. Look at the top X. So how many? I have 2 action points. Okay, so I'm going to pay 1 action point. I'm going to use this ability again to discard these 2 cards, and instead I will draw another 2. Okay, so here are all my attack cards. The very bottom of the deck. Bit unfortunate, perhaps. I don't know, but maybe I'm fine here. So I have defense. I have more defense. What am I looking at? And then I have this that can tell me that when an enemy engages me, I can just sort of cancel that. So I wonder, I wonder if I'll just pass the turn. So this costs 2, this costs 0, this costs 0. So I would need, so if I want all of these 3 defensive cards, I will need 1 more action point. So I think what I will do is I will use this ability to discard 1 card to gain 1 action point. So I will simply discard this for 1. Now that's not very efficient use of cards. I could also have used something like this to draw like a response card's worth. Maybe that would have been a better idea. Yeah, no. Let's do it like this. See, okay, so here's a question in chat. Is there a target cube to put on the threat track? That'd be nice. How do you mean a target cube? This is the threat track, and here I have a cube. Like that. No, there is not, but that is actually that's actually a very good idea. I never thought about that. I have to bring that up with the publisher. I'm sure they won't mind. It's just a cube. That is true, actually. I never thought about that. That's a good idea. All right, so move on. Enemy phase. Draw a card. It's a 3. So let's see here. The Orc Skirmisher will engage an attack. I think this is my opportunity to play this card, which is Confusion. You may play this card anytime when an enemy would engage you. The enemy does not move instead. So the Skirmisher stays there. It would not move. Now it would attack. The problem is just that the Skirmisher doesn't actually have range to attack from the quest area. So he just stays put, he's confused, and he chooses to do nothing. Now we come to the Huntmaster. He will support archers, and all archers disengage. That's his primary action. His secondary action would be to attack. Now, it works out pretty well for me that all the archers are actually up here in the area. So the archers won't disengage when he reaches them because they're already there, but you only do not perform an action of an enemy when nothing would change through it. But him supporting the archers means he goes to the area with the most archers, so something does change. He just pulls back. So he just tries to sort of command his troops around here, and I am pretty happy for that, because now the 2 archers will attack, and I believe I will have to defend. So I will defend against the first one with 5 and the second one with a 4. So let's do the first attack. So they both have an attack value of 0. That is not a hit. And for against the next one, it's not a hit. Okay. That is pretty nice. So now we move on into the spawn phase, which is where things get a little bit tricky here. This is the reason this scenario is so difficult for Niffle, because the first thing I do is I add a card into the hero area. First of all, that's tricky with Niffle because I haven't actually killed a single enemy, and this is one of those like relentless charge scenarios where they just keep coming in numbers, and it just gets more and more difficult to hold them off. But now we also have a special mechanic for this scenario, which is called the barrage. So barrages means that there's an attack that doesn't come from any particular area. It's just like a sort of a volley of arrows that comes to me. And I don't have anything to defend with. So the barrage value is 1. I have defense of 0, so I could just draw a card here and hope for -1, because that's my only option, because in that case I wouldn't take damage because I'm the defender, but I drew 1. So I take 1 damage, which means I take 1 wound card and it goes straight into my hand. Okay, it's a flesh wound, so not too bad. So then we go to the draw phase. I have 4 cards in hand, so I put my action points to 12. Now I have to draw cards, and I don't have any cards in my deck. So I will have to shuffle up my deck. And I add 2 fatigue cards to it. That is to represent that you get more tired through the course of battle. All right. So draw up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I add that to my hand of 4. So I have 11 cards. I have to discard 4 of them. Well, I like these big defense cards. I'm keeping those. Double damage. This might actually be the best round I've had so far for double damage. Okay, let's get rid of that. I don't want to draw more cards. Let's get rid of that. I have a lot of attack cards. I have to keep the wound card, and that's how you lose the game, is if your hand is, if you have to discard down to your starting hand size, so in this case 7, and once I've discarded everything I'm allowed to, I only have wound and fatigue cards in hand, then I would die. So now I just have the 1 that I'm not allowed to discard. Okay, let's put these to the side. Let's keep all of these attacks. Can I do that? Let's put that away. And put that away. And let's see here. Am I miscounting here? No, that's 7. Could I have discarded to get points to get defense during barrage? No. So I can discard cards to get action points, and I can convert action points 2 to 1 into defense. But you have to do that during your turn. So you can't just discard any cards for defense, but yeah. So you have to prepare for that. Now, I knew the barrage was coming. Honestly, I thought 1 wound is fine. Like, you do heal after this scenario. And now I was also lucky to get a pretty mild wound. So I will do a single attack, and I will add this to the attack, and it won't affect the attack. Of course, it's a dead card in my hand. It doesn't actually do anything, so it's not good, but it's not the worst ever. So let's see, another Hunt Master. That I find a bit unfortunate. So let's see here. But I do think I want to kill some enemies that are more likely to actually attack me. So I'm going to go for an attack here. I'm going to pay the primary and then the secondary cost. So that's 3. So this is an attack of 7 right now. And I will add this card for 2, making an attack of 7 still, but now it deals 2 damage, and I will target this archer up here. It has a defense of 0, so only a draw of 5 would save the archer from damage. Okay, number 1. Very nice. So now I deal 2 damage, which means I deal 2 wound cards, and that equals a value of -3 wounds. So it is dead. I discard the wound cards, this attachment goes away, and the archer goes away. So now I go to the bonuses of the cards, and both of these have the same bonus. It says draw a card, but I can only receive this bonus once per attack, so I only draw 1 card. So let's see. Oh yeah, I'll do that now in hindsight. I should have played that to the attack. Obviously, I'm a bit forgetful here. So let's see. Look at the top card of any deck. Another attack. I think I'm gonna go for another attack. Do I want to look at the top card? Why not? Let's look at the top card. See what's on top of here. So there's a 2. So I know a 3 would hit if the enemy doesn't have any defense value. I could really get punished for this, but I'm actually going to try to kill this skirmisher, and I will tell you in a second why that might be a problem. So I'll play this. There's an attack of 3. It hits because I know this is a 2. Ooh, okay, no, I really got punished here. So that's one of the few wound cards that doesn't do any damage. Still very bad for the opponent or for the orc, because it doesn't actually have any stats left. There's like no attack and no defense value. And I drew a fatigue card. Excuse me. All in all, very bad. Now it's the question: do I keep? So I could not get rid of the fatigue card by losing 2 action points. I could still afford that. Or I could just draw another card for 3. I actually like that option quite a bit. Oh yeah, exactly what I needed. More defense. Might actually get out of this one alive still. How many wound cards don't have a damage? 1. So that was literally the one I didn't want to draw. So I can tell you quickly about the wound cards, because not only is it that there are different values to them, but the thing is that the ones that have sort of the for us as players least beneficial stat changes down here are the ones that we are the least likely to want to get when we take damage. So this is bleeding, which means every time you play it, you put a wound card in your discard pile. So it just increases the wound. So it's like one of the worst wounds you can have in your hero hand. But it's also one of the mildest that you can put under an enemy. So of course it's bad that I drew this and it doesn't do damage. But the thing is that it's out of the wound deck now because it's under an enemy. And once the enemy is dead, it gets discarded. So I won't draw this if I take damage, which is then a positive part. So that way the wound cards are balanced, that the sort of the bad ones are sort of always bad, but at least when they're out of there, they're not going to get into my hand at any point. Yeah, that enemy is pretty neutralized. Like it's probably not going to be a huge issue. Like I can defend against any attack, but it still does attack when attack value is 0. So it's not like completely out of it, but yeah, I'm not too worried about it. What I was thinking earlier when I attacked it, if I should or not, was actually because if the skirmisher is dead and the hunt masters have as their action that they're supposed to support skirmishers, and there are no skirmishers, then they will most likely attack instead, which would be very unfortunate. So maybe I actually got lucky there. We'll have to see. So now I go into the enemy phase and I draw. You know what I realized now? I missed the last end phase. I should have increased the threat. Okay, so now we go into the enemy phase and I draw a card. I draw a 4. All right. So the skirmishers will engage as their primary action, which he can do. He would move to me. If he wasn't able to, he would intimidate, which would mean that I would have been forced to discard a card. And that would have been a non-fatigue, non-wound card, which would have been very bad, actually, had he stood right in front of me, because I have only defense cards. I don't want to get rid of any of these. Now, we have the Hunt Masters. They will support skirmishers, and all skirmishers attack. That is not great. So we do them one at a time. First, the Hunt Master comes. He inspires the skirmisher to attack. I will block with a 5. It attacks with a 3. So the 5s are always sure. Now we'll do that again. And now the next Hunt Master comes in, and it does the same. Again, the skirmisher attacks. I block. All right, no problem. Now the archer will attack as well. Luckily, I have another 4 against an attack value of 0, plus 0. Okay, that actually turned out really fine. Now we move on to the spawn phase with threat 3. Now there comes 2 enemies. So again, this shows the challenge of playing Niffle solo. It's definitely not possible. I have beaten it on several occasions, but yeah, it can be tough to keep up with the enemies. So draw phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yeah, I should have set this to 8. Go to 9 because I had 1 card in hand. Can't get rid of these 2 fatigues. I had 1 fatigue and I drew another one. But Niffle does have some cards that let him get rid of fatigue cards. He can also pay the cost and get rid of them, of course. But let's see, there are 2 of them. No. Fatigue cards. Okay, so there should be 1 card in the deck that allows me to get rid of both of these fatigue cards. So maybe that's something to focus on. So I think double damage can just go. I'm not going to use double damage right now. Now we go to the end phase. We take this one up, and we are 1 step closer to our salvation. Let's see here. So if there had been 2 skirmish and 2 hunt mods, you would have been attacked 4 times. Yes, that is correct. There are not that many of them, so I can see here in the original setup. So altogether, there are 2 hunt monsters, and there are altogether 4 skirmishers. So yeah, I mean, like, okay, the current setup, as you see, of course, that would have been absolutely terrible. Which is one of the reasons you might want to get rid of hunt monsters. But sometimes you want to keep them around if they don't have enough enemies to support. At this point, I'm leaning towards trying to get rid of hunt monsters, but I am a little light on firepower right now, so we'll have to see. All right. Let's start like this. We pay 2, get a response card worth of action points. That's a 5. Perfect. And I draw a card. Now, that was an incredible card. So now I think I would like to spend 2 for experience, which is just draw 2 cards. And here I found what I was looking for, which was put all fatigue cards. This card doesn't do anything or doesn't cost anything, and I get rid of my fatigue cards. So that's definitely worth it. Okay, so that's something that Niffle has as sort of a drawback and a perk, I guess. He goes through his deck very quickly, which means he adds fatigue cards to the deck, but he also has several cards, or 2 cards, that allow him to get rid of fatigue cards very efficiently. And there are certain scenarios. One of them, I think, was in one of the previews. It's called Ashes of the Past, where you're trying to save some innocent civilians from a burning building. And there you have to put fatigue cards in your hand to get rid of fire cards. And in that scenario, for example, Niffle tends to be very powerful because he has these abilities of putting a ton of fatigue cards in hand, and then he just plays the 1 card to get rid of them. So he's very efficient there in sort of clearing out the rubble and moving through, namely the burning building, to save the innocents there. But in this pure battle scene, well, I'm actually doing okay, so I shouldn't complain too much. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so I have some protection. I have defense. Let's see if I can get some more action points here. So I draw 2 cards. That's 3. I will use this ability to redraw. So I gain 5. That's very nice. All right. I have so many action points that I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay 4, use this ability here to draw a card. I have to shuffle up the deck. Added 2 fatigues to it. Actually, come to think of it, maybe I should have waited with the remove fatigue cards out of my deck, because I might draw a fatigue card now. Okay, luckily I did not. That would have been very unfortunate. So I could now disengage all enemies that I am currently engaged with. It doesn't feel too bad. Doesn't cost anything. Just move everyone out of here. I'll wait with that. Let's see here. So I have the groin strike. Do I then want to try to kill the skirmisher finally? No, with 2 skirmishers, I think it's too dangerous. So let's do that. Okay, so I pay 1. I do the groin strike. Defense is 0. Card 1. I deal damage. And this time around, the skirmisher is dead. So wounds away. Card away. Skirmisher away. And I get the bonus from the attack card, which is draw. And now I drew the fatigue card. Yeah, the ordering, the order you play the cards is very important, and I got punished by playing my own game a bit sloppily here. So let's see. What am I looking for? You may play this card anytime. Okay, I read that already. Do I want to disengage the Hunt Masters? I don't think so, because they could get the support Archer's ability, and then they just move back. That would be very good for me. I can look at some cards. So what am I looking for here? Maybe some attacks. I will play known exploits. So again, an X card. I look at the top X plus 1 card. So I will pay 2. X is 2, means your combined value is 3. Okay, put away all fatigue cards. I think I want to draw that later. So now's the question. Okay, I'm definitely taking the defense card here. Now is the question, do I want to put these two to the bottom? Look at the top card of any deck. Could be good in combination with an attack card. But I think I want to put these two to the bottom of the deck, and then I'm going to draw this very late, where I can then get rid of all the fatigue cards that are in the deck. Like that. So now I don't know what's on top of my deck, but I do know what's at the bottom, which is useful. So we'll see here. I think I'm going to spend another 4 to draw a card. I'm going to play Thieves' Tools, another X card, X times 2, draw 2, keep 1 in the hand, 1 on the top of my deck. I can leave the attack card on top, hold on to some defense cards, and I discard this to gain another AP. Now I can play this that forces my enemy not to move when it engages me, plus I have 3 defense cards. So I actually like this hand. It's turned out pretty good. Now let's see. I'm skipping anything. Yeah, enemy phase. All right, that's a 5. Okay. So a 5 is engage and intimidate for the skirmisher. So he will move in. And then the Hunt Masters will again allow the skirmisher to attack. Ooh, no, wait. Okay, roll it back. Okay, so he's supposed to move in. What I do is I pay 2 to say no. You do not move. Now we go to the Hunt Masters. The Hunt Masters will support the skirmishers, and then the skirmishers will attack. But in this case, because he couldn't move in, they will move to him. And so they just stand around, because he now attacks me twice, but he also has 1 range 1, so cannot attack me. Now we get to the archers, and they attack me. So I will first play defense of 5 against an attack of 2 plus 2, so that is fine. Then the archer will attack me, and I will defend with 4. There's an attack of 4, so 0 plus 4. I got pretty lucky there with how the cards came out. And that was the enemy phase. We go to the draw phase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have to discard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have to discard 2. Maybe my action points should be there. Okay. Perceptive Edge is really good. I think I get rid of the extra damage here, because I won't be doing that much attacking, I believe. Rogue Tactics, I think I get rid of as well. All right, let's try that. So now we go to the end phase. Oh, goodness. I skipped the spawn phase. It's getting a bit late here. So in the spawn phase, there should have been 1 card from the enemy deck. All right. Then came the draw phase. Now comes the end phase. We move this up. And it is now the, what are we now? Second to last turn, I guess. All right, then let's get going. Just a staggering amount of enemies. I will pay 2 to get 2 cards worth of action points. That's a combined value of 2, which is very bad. So I use the ability to redraw, combined value of 5, which is significantly better. So I go up to 13. Okay. Let's see here. I will play the Perceptive Edge. It's a range 2 attachment. Whatever I put this on, I will be a pretty good chance of killing. So I think I put it on an archer here. I think we just have too many archers, because if the Hunt Master supports them, they would just all attack, and then I could just very quickly, just very suddenly and quickly die. I'll spend 2 to play the Throwing Daggers, an attack of 3 against a defense of 0, plus 3. So I do not hit. And I drew the reshuffle card for the response deck. But despite that, I still get the bonus, which means I still draw a card. And there comes the fatigue card. So let's see. All right. Well, the fatigue card's not great. Maybe also not terrible. Let's do another attack. Same target. Defense, -1. Very nice. So I draw a card as a bonus. I drew some AP. Gain 5. Go up to 11. I think I will spend 4 here to draw a card. I'll spend 2 to play this card, get more action points, 4 in this case. Actually been very good with this deception card here. Okay, another attack. I like that. All right, I'm going to spend 2 to attack the archer for 4. It cannot defend successfully, gets another wound, and dies. Okay. So, getting rid of an archer. Oh yeah, and I draw a card off of that. Getting rid of an archer felt essential here. I will spend another 2 for experience. Draw 2. There's my flesh wound again. Forgot about that. I do, because I know this is the card that gets rid of fatigue. So I'll spend the 1 to discard a card, and I draw a card. Then I play this and get rid of all the fatigue cards. Now I could just draw a card. I think there's an attachment as a last card, but I don't need action points necessarily. That could give me more defense. Well, it's not a very good rate, but I think I'll... Yeah, Barrage will come again in the last round. So this round, I'm still just getting 2 enemies. And then in the last, there will be the Barrage. There will be a Barrage of 3. So that's an attack of 3 plus a card. But even without Barrage, I don't like my odds here. But I do think holding on to some action points is probably better than drawing a card right now. Let's see. All right, try to do this in order here before I mess up again. Enemy phase. All right, draw a card. 3. 3 means skirmishers engage and attack. Okay, so what does he have? He has an attack of 3, and looking forward here, yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it here. Let's see. All right, let's just go through the movements here, but I think I'm pretty bad shape. I will spend 4, play a card. And then I'll spend... I have to get really lucky here. Okay, let's just sort of swing for the fences here. I'm just gonna defend with 3. Very unlikely to be enough. 3 plus 3 is 6. That was not enough. I take 2 wounds. And we move on to the Hunt Masters, which is sort of the issue here. They support archers, and all archers disengage. Probably sounds good, because sort of they don't do anything. The problem is that if they don't do literally anything with their primary action, they go to the secondary action, which is attacking. So both of these will attack. They have 3 damage, which I think is already my demise. So I will spend 4 to gain 2 defense, hoping for a -1 card here. I did not draw it. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm at 6 wound cards. I will spend my card here to defend for 5 against an attack of 3 plus 1. So that was a successful defense. But the archers will now attack as well, and I just don't have any defense cards. So an attack of 3 hits, and an attack of 3 hits. So now we'll come to the spawn phase, and then to the draw phase. I don't have to do the spawn phase because I can see I already now have a hand of 8 wound cards, which means that once I draw up to 7 and discard down, I won't even be able to discard my 7 cards. I just have so many wounds in hand that I just died. So, sorry to say, I couldn't pull out a win to you on my first live stream here. But I felt like this was a good playthrough to keep up, to try out anyhow, to show a little bit also what effect the choice of hero has on the scenarios. I believe it snowballed in the end. Yeah, it definitely snowballed in the end. So I think, let me see here. So what could I have? So if, for example, I would have drawn a +2, then the skirmisher from the response card for the enemy activation, the skirmisher would have moved in but not attacked me. And then the Hunt Masters, they would just have forced me to discard cards, and then the archers would have attacked, at which point I would actually have been able to defend. So probably I would have taken no damage then. So sometimes you can get a little bit unlucky with what you draw. They're pretty evened out as far as threat goes, the different sort of enemy behaviors, but just certain board states just makes it incredibly difficult. What's the last card in the deck? Of the enemy deck, you mean? My deck? Oh, I think... Look at the top card of any deck. That was the one. Yeah, that would have been very useful to just play it at some point early in the round, see what would have been the top card of the response deck, and then known what the enemies would have done. But yeah, I wouldn't have been afford to play it. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I should not have put this at the bottom of my deck. I should have kept it just to have more information. So yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. All right. Any still dead? Yeah. No, I don't think there was actually any saving that. What card stock is planned to be used for the cards? I will have to be completely honest and pause on that question. I'm a little bit unsure. We have the linen finish, and I believe the cards are going to be fairly thick. But this would, just ask it in the comment section of the Kickstarter. Then the publisher will go in. Because I'm just a designer. Of course, I'm involved in other things as well, but my knowledge about the production is just not that detailed. Any other questions? I would be happy to pay for an expansion if players go crazy. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we didn't plan on having any add-ons, but I mean, we're still taking feedback, obviously, during the campaign. Yeah, so we'll have to see. But as I said, if you have a question about the card stock and so, just please put those in the comment section. I mean, the publisher will get back to you for sure. And other than that, thanks both of you for coming by. Yeah, my pleasure, and yeah, hopefully I'll find the time to do this again soon, at least before the Kickstarter ends. We will of course update you in that case. Thank you very much, and have a good night.